how to get good spikes in your CV. Now, when I'm saying spikes, I'm not meaning to say kaante or thorns. I'm talking about those spikes which every MBA aspirant, every MBA students want in their CV so that their CV or their profile can look even more fascinating to a recruiter. Now, in my last few videos, which were vlogs from IIM Ahmedabad, a lot of you commented on them and asked me about how do you improve your profile, what skills you need to add, and basically what you were trying to ask me was that CV में spikes कैसे add करे जाएं, how to add CV spikes or spikes in the CV. This video is a response to all of your comments so that I can help you understand a usual and also a unique perspective of how you can make sure that your CV is great for any job role that you're interested in. Hi, I'm Darpan Saxena, an MBA graduate from IIM Udaipur, and let's get on with the video. Now, my objective in this video is to give you a twofold advice as to how can you add CV spikes. Now, the first set of advice is basically the usual advice which you'll hear mostly from everyone, but it is important for you to know that firstly what is a CV spike and what are some of the standard and the most conventional ways in which you or all of your other friends get CV spikes, get spikes in your CV. And towards the end of this, I will be sharing with you one very unusual, unconventional, and a very unique and impactful way in which not only can you add a huge spike in your CV, but you could make a great career for yourself as well without depending on the placements. Now, first things first, let's try and understand that what exactly is a CV spike. ये spike होता क्या है? As you can understand from that word itself, spike, a CV spike is about that suppose everything in your academics, in your work experience up till now was going average, then suddenly you do something in your life which makes your profile go suddenly up. That is what a spike is. कि हालांकि आपकी प्रोफाइल बहुत एवरेज थी या फिर ठीक ठाक चल रही थी, आपने कुछ ऐसा एक आध इवेंटफुल काम करा जिससे आपकी CV सडनली बहुत इंप्रूव हो गई. Now, while that is a good way to explain a spike, a further qualification, a further thing which you need to know about a spike, which will truly make a spike very interesting for a recruiter, is that if you can make that spike unique, if that spike is not with more than 5% of the audience which is there in front of the recruiter. So, for example, if you are an MBA student, then try and find out that, okay, what are the CV points which I can have in my CV which is with not more than 5% of my batch. That is ideally the way to look at it. So this is what you will understand as a CV spike. Now, with that, let me help you understand some of the conventional ways in which you can build such a spike. ये spike build कैसे करते हैं, इसके कुछ conventional और ऐसे किस्म के रास्ते जो कि काफी MBA aspirants और MBA students को शायद already मालूम होंगे. Now, the first thing is that what you need to know is that a spike, it can be in 3 areas of your CV. आपका CV जब भी आप एक MBA school में होते हैं, it has 3 broad areas. These 3 areas are your academics, your work experience, and your extra curricular activities. So these are the 3 broad areas, and your CV spikes can be in any of these 3 areas. Ideally, you should aim to have one good spike in each of these 3. So it is very important that you need to start to see your CV as these 3 separate areas. Do not see your CV as one single pager. That's the first thing. Now, what are the various ways in which you can get a CV spike in each of these areas? Now, first things first, I will speak about the academic spikes. One of the simplest ways to get a good academic spike is one, if you're able to crack a good MBA school. That in itself is a very big academic spike. However, now that you're in your MBA school, your objective is that you need to stand apart from everyone else at your B school. So hence, another academic CV spike will be if you score a good CGPA or a good GPA. A third way to get a academic spike is that if not in all the subjects or if not in the overall academic CGPA, how about you can score a good high GPA in at least 1 or 2 or 3 of your most important subjects. That could also be a CV spike, and in that case you need to specify it that okay, in this and this subject I scored a this much CGPA. So for example, if you had a CGPA in marketing analytics, out of 4 you scored a 3.8, then that is something which should probably come as a separate statement in your CV that hey, I scored a 3.8 out of 4 CGPA in marketing analytics. These are some 3 ways in which your academic spikes can be handled. One more way, a fourth way, is that if in one of your academic projects you are able to do exceedingly well and you are able to score very good scores in that. Also, if you are speaking about a project in your academics, then you should also be prepared to speak about the impact and what were your observations and outcomes from that project when you are going into the interview. So it's not that okay, just because you've scored well in a project or in an assignment in your classroom, you should have enough content for you to go in the interview and explain that okay, why exactly was that project a great academic highlight. These are the 4 main ways in which you can get a good academic spike. Now from there I will speak about the spikes in the work experience, and this is mostly for those who have some kind of work experience already. Now what you need to know about work experience spikes is that you need to basically write about your work experience in a way that it shows impact. That's about it. So how can you show this impact in your work experience? One of the greatest ways, which a lot of MBA students would already know, one of the greatest ways is to highlight the numerical improvements, the financial improvements. How can you show the impact of your work in numerical aspects? Now, for you to show an impact in your work experience in terms of the numerical aspects, one of the frameworks, a framework which you can use is called the CAR framework, which stands for the context, your action, and the result which you have from that action. So if you can structure your CV statements in the CAR format, then you will be able to show a great impact of what you were able to do at your work experience. So any good work experience outcome or any good initiative will help you a lot. Now, how about I show you my resume from IIM Udaipur when I was a student, so that you've got some idea about how you can show numerical impacts in your CV. So I'll just go to my screen and show you my CV. So here, as you can see, this is my resume from IIM Udaipur, and I had some 2 years of work experience. And now if you see this thing over here, almost all of my statements have some sort of a numerical impact. So for example, if you see over here, I have specified this probably here in this statement, I could have had this first thing at the starting of the statement. So now when I'm seeing my own CV, I can clearly see my own flaws in it. So now if I had to restructure this entire first statement, I would say generated over INR 2 CR by ideating 3 new online products. This would be an ideal way. In the same way, a lot of other things. So for example, here I was able to show some impact on the sales, and I was able to highlight all of these statistics, the numerical impact on the sales or on the leads which I had. If I helped the organization save a lot of money, I should highlight this also. So all of these points will obviously get verified by your manager, and you should always try that whatever points you're trying to highlight in your CV should show such kind of a numerical impact. Now from there, the third kind of CV spikes can be in the area of extra curricular activities in your CV. Now a very simple thing is that you would know that extra curricular is about what are the other initiatives which you took outside of your academics and outside of your work experience. And if you are a fresher, then this is very important for you, because this is where you can compensate for the impact which you might not have in your work experience. And hence it will be very interesting for all the freshers out there to carefully understand that how beautifully you can compensate for the lack of work experience by doing a great job in your extra curricular activities. How do you add CV spikes in your extra curricular activities area. One of the ways obviously is to get good PORs, positions of responsibility. Now usually I advise my students, the ones who've been watching me for long, that PORs are not really important and there is something else which is far more important, which by the way I'll be explaining at the end of this video. However, yes, for a CV standpoint, only for increasing the value of your CV, your PORs become important. Now, what are some kind of good PORs which you can have? For an MBA student, probably one of the best PORs which you can have is if you are in the placecom. तो अगर आप प्लेसकॉम में एंटर हो पाते हैं, वो बहुत ही स्ट्रॉन्ग इम्पैक्टफुल CV स्पाइक होगा फॉर योर एक्स्ट्रा करिकुलर एक्टिविटीज. तो अगर अभी आप एक MBA स्टूडेंट हैं या फिर अभी अगर आप एक MBA एस्पिरेंट हैं एंड इफ यू आर ऑलरेडी trying to imagine that how to get good CV spikes, and if your entire focus is on to getting CV spikes and CV spikes, then solve your problem once and for all. Try and get into the placecom. Now if you suppose are not interested in the placecom, then even if you can hold a position of responsibility in any other good club or committee at your B school, that will be very helpful. If in the same way in your undergraduation you had a POR, again that will be very helpful. Again, it is important that within each of these you should again show some impact. It is not that ki are ji I am a placecomer, hence I need not show my impact. Some impact you still have to show. So for example, again I'll go back to my CV and now you can see my area of where I'm showing my PORs. Now this first one is basically the POR from my MBA, that at IIMU I was in the entrepreneurship cell, and here you can see that some of the impact which I have tried to show over here in my POR. Same way, when I was in my engineering, I was the vice president of the robotics club, and hence in the same way I have tried to show a lot of impact over here as much as I could have. And in the same way, during my engineering itself, I was the joint secretary of an international conference which we had organized, and here as well I have tried to show some numerical impact. So this is probably one of the ways, in fact this is one of the very interesting ways in which you can show a lot of impact, in which you can show a lot of good impact. Now from there, that was one of the ways in which you can show a spike. There is another way. For example, if you have some good hobbies which you have pursued for long enough, then that can be a good spike, provided that you've made some achievements in it. So for example, if hobby of yours is for example dancing, and if you are say a national level sort of a awardee, that is a spike. If you have been a sports player, if you have been a national level or a state level sports player, that in itself is a spike. Again, you need to be mindful of something which I had said in the starting, that while these are good achievements to highlight, you should also see a spike, in the sense that a spike should also make you unique. So if you see that yes, this is truly a unique sort of a spike which you should add, then this will surely improve your chances and it will truly make you stand apart from everyone else. It will truly make your CV stand apart from everyone else. So in this first part of the video, what I've shared with you is that what are some of the conventional ways to add CV spikes. These are very important, very standard ways, yet very important ways which you should know, which you should start to work on, so that you can eventually add some good spikes in your CV. Now in the next part, I will be sharing that one unconventional way with you in the next video. So stay tuned. Do go ahead and comment how you like this, and are you excited to watch the part 2? If you are, do not forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next video. Thanks a lot and goodbye.